Wow, it's good to see you again. I love this night. I look forward to it every single month, obviously, and so I hope you guys do too. Um, and we are going to start with an icebreaker, like we always do. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do half of it now and half of it in the middle of my sermon. So we'll just do a little part of it. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you raise your hand if what I'm saying kind of pertains to you. So I've got some categories. And then I want you to look around and kind of make eye contact or acknowledge some of the women who are in some of the same categories that you are in. Because it's really easy to go to a church our size and know the faces and not the names, and maybe not even know how to connect with those women because you don't even know what they like to do or anything like that. So just kind of get a general overview for you in the front. You can kind of turn around and look who's raising their hand. So, all right, how many of you out there are working mamas? You're working mamas. Pay attention. All right. How many of you out there are stay-at-home mamas? Raise that. All right. How many of you love to garden? Any of you? A couple of gardeners? Pay attention. All right. How many of you out there love to decorate or craft, like Pinterest? All right. Quite a few of you in here. That's exciting. Let's see. All the single ladies. Where are our single ladies? All right. Okay, people who love to run and work out. Runners and workers outs. Love is a stretch. People who run and work out, whether they love it or not. All right. Where are my schedulers? Those people who say, I need a routine and I need to be scheduled and I will be on time. All right. And where are the free spirits? Those who say, time? What time? What time does it start? You were the ones that were walking in at 6:40. I saw you. Hey, I'm always on time. What? All right, okay. Okay, you want to know? Let's see. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't like to work out, but I should more often. I like to decorate, and I'm definitely a scheduler, 100%. So that's me. All right, so that's enough for right now. We'll pick it back up in the middle. Trying to get my phone out of the way. All right, so tonight, I want to talk about why women's ministry. And you might think, I'm pretty sure we already talked about that the first month. But the first month we talked about why women alive. And we talked about a mission and a goal and kind of a vision for what's going on here. Tonight I want to take it a little bit deeper and talk about why are we specifically here tonight. Like, why are we here? Not just like the vision, but like, why'd you show up? I want to share my heart, and this has been on my heart for a very long time. I've been trying to find out when the right time is to share it with you ladies. I truly feel like it's a word from God, and I don't take that lightly. And so it's going to be a little less of a sermon. I'm not really going to preach through a passage, but more just me sharing my heart and talking with you, if that's okay tonight. So let me just pray, and we'll get started. God, I thank you for this opportunity to be with these women. I thank you for them, for the talents that you've given them, for the personalities and the unique characteristics that you've given each one of us. Lord, I ask that you would be in this room tonight, that your word would be spoken, and that we would hear exactly what you would have each and every one of us hear in our lives in this season. We thank you for your presence, Jesus. Amen. All right. Genesis 2:18. The Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. So he created what? Woman. From the very beginning of time, intrinsically to the core of who we were created for relationship. He created woman when it was not good for man to be alone. He could have created a buddy, a pal, but he created woman. And I think that's a beautiful picture. And so, as a woman created by God, I truly believe, whether we would admit it or not, that each and every one of us has a deep desire to be loved, to be known, to be accepted in relationship not only with Christ, but with each other here on earth. We value that relationship. And when that's missing, we can feel the void. And that's where women's ministry comes into play. That's kind of a feel of what I want to talk to you tonight is just friendship. What does friendship look like? If we want to be a woman who looks like Christ, we need to look at how he did friendship. Because I believe every single thing that he did on earth in his 3 years in ministry was purposeful. And ladies, he gave us a model for how he did friendship, and I believe that's purposeful, and we should look at that. So what's his model? It starts out with the crowd. Every single place Jesus went, you see hundreds of times in the Bible, he was followed by a multitude. He had a crowd. He was speaking with the herds of people. And I believe that's important because he didn't push away the crowd. He accepted the crowd. He loved on the crowd. He encouraged the crowd. He inspired the crowd. He talked to them. He embraced them. However, we also know that Jesus had 12 disciples, 12 men that he chose. And Matthew 3:13-14 says, he chose those who he wished. So he was pretty specific who he wanted. So 12 men who he chose to struggle with, to do life with, to bring closer than the crowd. So does that make Jesus seclusive? No. I think it makes him selective. And there's a very, very fine line between seclusive and selective, and we have to be really careful as women to weigh that line because it is so easily crossed. So easy to get our 3 or 4 gal pals and to start, really being intentional about our relationships, and we think we're being selective, but then we forget about the crowd, and we start doing life with these people, and we forget that he influenced the crowd, that he encouraged the crowd. Yes, he was selective, but he encouraged the crowd. And so I think it's important for us to be selective because he was selective. But I think we also have to be careful not to be seclusive because when we cross the seclusive line, we miss an opportunity. Revelations 12:11 says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony." So they overcame the enemy, the devourer, all of his lies, all of his schemes by a God who came and died on the cross, which he's done for every single one of us, so we can mark that box checked, and the word of their testimony. And when we cross into seclusion rather than selection and being selective, we miss the opportunity to share the word of our testimony and what God has done in our life to that crowd, to these women. Because each and every one of you sitting here, this is your crowd. And we know there's far more of a crowd on Sunday mornings. So we all have a crowd every single Sunday, every single time we walk into this building to encourage each other, to lift one another up, to embrace each other in this life that we're living. So let's look at the selective side because there's value in looking at that side. He, like I said, chose wisely. And ladies, we have to choose wisely who we share our life with, who we share our struggles with. Because it's so easy as we go through this life, and we've all got this mud that we're trudging through at times, to find those women who will rally around us and rally in our corner and be like, "Oh yeah, I can't believe she said that," or "Oh, I can't believe he's treating you like that," or "Oh yeah, you're really going through it." It's easy to get those people who say what we want to hear, but it's difficult to select those women who can speak into our lives and who we give permission to speak into our lives when we're going through the tough of it, to say, "Yeah, it's really tough, but your attitude kind of stinks right now." It's different. We don't want those women in our lives because we just kind of want to sit in our mud sometimes. I'm like that. Sometimes, like, when I tell my husband these stories and he's, like, trying to point me to Jesus, I'm like, "Listen, I was just trying to complain. I really don't, want." And it's easy to do that. But we have to be careful to select those people who will stop allowing us to look at the problem and start forcing us to look at the problem solver, because that's what it's all about. So selective, yes. Seclusive, no. A balance, 100%. Because there's a thin line there. Why is all this important? Why is his model important? I believe it's a gauge for our lives. We can see clearly that he values relationships. He values authentic relationships and sharing his life with people, and we should value the same. They saw him in his miracles and in his ministry, and at the height of who he was when he was on his best, and they also saw him when he was hanging on the cross, and when he was struggling the days prior to. He let them close enough to see that. So we have to do the same. So I want to pick up our icebreaker again. This time, I don't want anybody to respond. I just want you to think about what you could respond to. So there are women in here who have blended families. Some of them are blending well. Some of them, the blend is a struggle. There are women in here who have gone through divorce or are going through divorce, or if you're not, you have marital struggles. There are women in here who desire desperately to be married, and you're wondering when that Prince Charming will come. There are women in here who have had miscarriages, and there are women in here who have fertility issues. There are women in here who suffer depression and anxiety, some who suffer incredible insecurity, some who have chronic physical illness and financial struggles, and some who have incredible family turmoil right now. The list could go on and on and on, but I think you understand the difference between the first list and the second list. The first list is the things that we tend to connect with initially when we get to know somebody because it's easy. The second list is the stuff that we desire so desperately to connect about because we need someone to walk this road because he said it's not good for man to be alone, so he created woman. But this is where women's ministry gets real tough, if I can be honest with you, ladies. We aren't easy. In fact, some of us sitting here are skeptical about even being here. Like, I don't really know what this women's ministry thing is all about, all these women getting together. Like, let's be honest. Women's ministry has this, picture about it. And I'm about to break that picture in half, if that's okay. If we can just love each other here, that would be great. That's all it's about. So we have this desire to connect, and we have real issues that in order to truly connect and to let someone truly know us, we have to let them know these deep sides of us because we don't want to do it alone. But for some reason, we find ways to keep people at an arm's distance. And there are a few reasons tonight where that I see, and I'll just go over a few. There are obviously plenty more. But I'll just pull out some of the big ones. Some of the first one is maybe we just don't know people. It's a big church. Maybe you're just like, I don't want to share my mud with them because I don't even know them from Adam and I've never seen them before. So part of it is we just hold people away because we haven't had a chance to connect. And that's a very real thing. Another one is fear. What will they think of me? Maybe I won't look as good as they think I am. I won't look like I have it all together. How will they view me now? Offenses. This is a big one. Ladies, it is so easy for us to be offended as women. And the enemy loves to work here. Just simple things like, she looked at me wrong one Sunday, and so she doesn't like me. Or, it's real. She said something cross-eyed one time, and so I'm not sure if we're friends anymore. Or maybe she confronted you on your junk, and you just didn't like it. And so you'd rather not be friends anymore because you don't want someone that close who can say, hey, let's step it up a notch. Let's get a little closer to Christ. Offenses are so easy to keep each other away. But guess what, ladies? We are so human. And the main thing that breaks offenses is when we have grace for each other, and we can't have grace for each other if we don't know each other. So it's really hard to be offended by someone that you know, and you know their heart, because not one person sitting in here has a bad heart, I just know it. So no one sets out to say, oh, I'm going to hurt her feelings, or I'm going to say this wrong, or So when you get to know that, and you know what, she said that, but I'm sure it was just a bad day, or maybe it just came out wrong, or I'm going to let it go. And we have to learn to do that. We have to learn to do that in order to engage people in friendship. Another one is insecurity. This one's big too. We think we know the women around us by their Facebook pages or by what we see, and we keep them at arm's length because they are just all around awesome at some things, so we think. So we don't see their authentic self because we don't get close enough to see what they struggle with and the fact that they have dishes in their sink too. And so, yeah, dishes. Yes. So insecurity makes us territorial. It makes us defensive. Why is she doing that when I should be doing that? Or, what we tend to do with insecurity is their strengths begin to devalue us, which is so whopper-jawed, if you will. Because the fact that she is strong doesn't make you weak. Because you don't get your value. It's not competition. He's strengthened you in another way. And so we can cheer each other on, and we don't have to get defensive. We don't have to get territorial. We can say, go, girl, do it. Because God has gifted them in that way. And so insecurity shrivels us up and says, oh, I'm less than she is because I'm not doing that, or she can do. No. We get our value from Christ. That's it. And so that keeps people at arm's length. And the worst thing is when you get to know someone and they really are as cool as you thought they were, and you're like, man, why does she have to be that cool? Isn't that stink? That's the worst. Okay, that's it. There's nothing to say about those women. It's just whatever. All right, the last one is the mess. Relationships and friendships are messy. They cause emotion. They take work. If you do them right, there will be arguments, and you'll have to work them out. I've never been in a relationship, a good one, that didn't take work. And quite honestly, who has time for the mess? We have things to do, and who has time for that? So we keep people at arm's length because I don't have time to hang out. I don't have time to text her and see how she's doing. I've got my own mud. I don't really have time to listen to hers. I mean, it's the truth. We're laughing because it's true. Because this is how we let the enemy work, and he's doing it, doggone it. And it's time to say enough. Not here, not at C3, not in Women Alive. We're going to start to love in a different way, the way Christ has asked us to love. To embrace the crowd, to encourage the crowd, whether they're the cool club or whether we can be part of the running team or whatever. I'm not part of that team. I'll sit on the couch and eat potato chips. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, so we're going to start to love differently. So these are the things that I see that can keep us at arm's length. And, when I look at Christ's relationships, he has an example for some of these too. He has 12 disciples, and in those 12 disciples, so he's got a ton of people that want to follow him, but he chooses 12, and in those 12, it's Jesus we're talking about. He's got Peter, who denies him and lies about even being friends with him. Like, talk about having a friend and having her be like, I'm not friends with her. Like, how would that make you feel? He's got Thomas, who doubted the fact that he would even do what he said he would do, which is come back to life. He has Judas, who flat out betrayed him. He had every single right to have offenses. He had every single right to be mad, to push them away, to choose different friends because other people wanted to be friends with him. He had every single right. But what did he do? He drew him closer. He loved him more. Judas was eating dinner with him the night before he betrayed him. He loved him anyways. We have to love them anyways, through it all, whether they offend you or not. You got to love them anyways. So some of you might be here tonight, and you might be saying, I'm not sharing my junk, so if that's where you're headed, ain't going there. And I get it. You don't want to dance in your mud. It's not really fun. That's dirty. I get it. It's hard. And quite frankly, I'm not asking you to just yet. If you're ready to, go for it. What I'm asking you to, actually, we'll get to what I'm asking you to do later. I'm not going there. Okay, so in Jesus, another thing we see is authenticity. We see realness. We see raw emotion. When he was on the cross, the best picture I think I've ever seen of a real Jesus, he said, my God, Why have you forsaken me? If that isn't real, I don't know what is. He was standing there and he said, I'm forsaken and I'm alone. And there are women in here tonight who may have those very same feelings. You may have said in the past or now, God, where are you? I feel a little forsaken. Or maybe even in this arena, you say, I kind of feel alone. But you can't muster up those words either because you have an arm's distance or you don't know people or one of the other reasons. And so hopefully tonight, we're going to fix that problem. I don't want to have that problem here anymore. I'm going to share a little bit of my testimony, if you will. Allow that. I would like to read it. I've never shared it in a public arena before. It's a very shortened version, so I'm an overcomer. For 6 long years, I struggled with anxiety and life-altering fear. From the time I started college until 2 years into my marriage, I couldn't see past the fog of failure. I had to do everything perfect, and if I wasn't sure I could do it perfect, I wouldn't do it at all. My anxiety caused me to spend the last 2 years of my college in a dorm room by myself because I never knew when I would need to throw up, or in the middle of the night I would wake up to panic attacks. So I made it through Bible college, and I, by the grace of God, got married. I headed to grad school, and I thought I could start fresh with new people. I could masquerade, being okay. I was going into ministry after all, and people in ministry had it all together. Within the first 6 months of my marriage, I entered into counseling, and I began to spiral downward. But oh, I held it inside. I painted a pretty picture for all who knew me. I had it all together, and I could do this. Except for that I couldn't anymore. There was Joe. There was someone who saw the behind the scenes of my fear, and I finally had to face that giant. My fears became so incredibly irrational that after 2 years, it almost caused me to consider ending my marriage. Not because my marriage was bad, in fact, it was great, but because the lie that I would fail as a wife eventually was so loud in my head that I couldn't move past it. So I thought, you know what? I might as well fail on my terms. I might as well call it quits. The devil had fed me so many lies that I didn't know what truth was in any area of my life. And then I spoke because I was desperate. I found a circle of women that I trusted, and I let all my mess hang out. A failure, I knew that's what they thought I was. They were bound to think I was crazy, and who is this girl who thinks she's going to lead people someday that's got all of these issues? But instead, what happened was that I found grace. They saw through the lies, and they were able to speak truth in my darkness. They shined a light into a path that I had long lost. The enemy had been stripped of all of his weapons that day. I'd be lying to say it was a perfect journey and that everything was smoothly after that, because it wasn't. It took grueling work. It took day by day and sometimes literally hour by hour support and scripture of people feeding me truth, of me retraining my mind to speak life instead of death. But I can stand here today and say, I'm free. I'm not perfect. I've still got mud. But I'm free from the chains that tied me to a masked life. I chose real. I choose, and I still choose every day, authenticity. And as I do so, I simultaneously choose to live in the freedom I have through Christ. About 5 months ago, when Pastor Dan asked me to lead you women, I took off my comfortable shoes and I put on some new ones. They aren't quite as comfortable. They don't fit as nice. They're cute though. And I vowed to stand with you in the mud. I vowed to dance in the rain. I said, I'll weep when you weep, and I'll rejoice when you rejoice. And I meant every single word of it. But tonight I'm asking, there are so many women in this church. And so I'm asking you to do the same. I'm asking you if you'll consider what shoes you're wearing now. And you may be saying, I'm new to this church. And that's just consider your shoes and ask God, what's my next pair? What do they look like? You know, maybe you're not ready to stand in the mud with people, but maybe you're saying, my hand's been out and I'm just gonna let it down. Maybe you just need to meet people. So I'm gonna ask you, if you would, to ask God what that looks like for you tonight. There's gonna be lots of different ways we can respond to this. So I'm gonna ask actually the 5 ladies who I talked to about praying to come to the front. So there are a bunch of different ways we can respond tonight, because I realize that a lot of us have, this could have hit us in a bunch of different areas. Some of you may say tonight, I just need prayer. I just need one person to stand in the mud with me tonight, whether I've connected with them in the past before or not. I just need someone tonight. I'm desperate. I need to speak. And these women up here are going to do just that, and myself, I'm going to go down here. And we want to stand with you, and I know these women, and they will stand. And so that's an option, and then when you're done, you can join a group, or if the lines are too long or whatever, you can join a group and then come up, whatever. The next one is, I just want to meet people. I just would like to know some people, some faces. Like, I just want to know, like, if they live around here, or if they run, or whatever. I don't know. Eat pizza. I just want to start doing life with these women. And if I can have the small group leaders, I know we said we're not going to lead, and you aren't, but if I could have some of the small group leaders stand up along the back, what these people are going to do is, if you just say, I just want to meet people, I just want to get to know them, they're not going to lead a group. There will be discussions on the boards that you guys can talk about, but they're just starting points. If you say, I just want to, even if you've been here for a while and you just want to meet people, you can join their group. Ladies, like 5 to a group, 4 or 5. There's a lot of you, so probably maybe even less. If you don't have 4 or 5, go ahead and join another group, whatever that looks like, and just talk about the topics, or talk about whatever you guys need tonight is what I want this to be for you. So the third one is reevaluating friendships. Some of you may say, I need some time with Jesus after this. I've been a little bit too seclusive, and I need to know what my crowd could be. Or maybe you haven't been selective enough, and you've kind of just told a bunch of people, and you need to say, okay, Jesus, who are the people around me who will point me to you? Who are my selected ones that you want me to struggle with? Or maybe some of you have offenses in this room, and you say, I just need some time because I need to talk this out. Take the time. Please do it. There's no point in waiting. The time is now. And some of you already have connected. You know each other, and you literally just want to talk. We don't have enough time on Sunday mornings and stuff to just get to know each other. So maybe some of you just want to get to know each other. Do that. Take the time and just get to know each other. Enjoy each other. The only thing I'm going to ask is that we be purposeful in our conversation just for the next half an hour, that we respect what God is doing in this place, and that we take this time to care for each other in a different way, to get to know each other and to love each other, because this is why women's ministry. This is why we're here.